Hi guys, welcome to the today webinar, which is the session 3 for the practice series for Bigwix. The topic that we have today is binary search tree and binary trees. So we are going to look at certain questions that we can solve using binary trees. I hope that you will enjoy the session. So let us begin with the session and let us see the first question that we have in our hand. So this question says that we are given a BST and we have to modify it so that the value at every node is equal to the sum of the nodes which are greater than this particular node in the given tree, right? So I have to update the current node with the sum of all the nodes which are greater than or equals to this particular node, right? So let us see what this question says. And this question says that the input is given in the pre-order format. So this is what pre-order would look like. So we need to create the tree using this particular pre-order. So I don't know whether you are comfortable with making a tree using pre-order or not. So I'll just explain that how we can do that as well. So this is the question, right? So we are given the tree. So this is the tree, and the input for this tree will be this particular pre-order. So we need to create this tree using the given input. So first of all, let us see how we can create a tree before moving on to the solution. So see, pre-order means, I hope all of you are comfortable with this thing, that pre-order means that firstly we need to print the node, then the left child, then the right child. So this is what pre-order means. So that means whatever the node we have in the front of the pre-order, that will be the root node. So you can see we are having 4 as the root node. So the thing that you need to keep in mind over here is, whenever we are going to create a tree using pre-order, so in tree we use something which is called as recursion. The questions of trees are generally solved using recursion, and in recursion what we do, we do the work for one particular case, which is the bigger problem, and for the smaller problem the recursion does the work for us, right? So what I'll do, I'll have this particular pre-order input, and this will be the root node. First of all, what I'll do, I'll make this particular node as the root node. Now what I'll do, I'll ask the recursion that first of all create the left subtree and attach it to the left side of this particular root node. And then when the left side is created, why we are doing it so? Because we have the node first and then we have the left child first. So in this case, left child is going to constitute the entire left subtree. So I'll ask to create the left subtree. Once the left subtree is created, then I'll ask it to create the right subtree. So once we have left and right, both the trees that we have attached to the left and right of this particular root node, what I'll do, I'll simply return the root node. So I'll get this entire tree. So I have written the code of creating the tree using pre-order beforehand only. So let us just go through the code. So see, what we are doing is, first of all we take the input of the node, that whatever the node that we have. So see, this node is going to become the root node. So I have said that whatever the first node is, I will make it root node, whatever the first data is, or whatever the first node is, node or data, whatever we call. So next thing is, we will ask recursion. So I have asked recursion to create the left subtree, then I have asked the recursion to create the right subtree. Once we have the entire tree with us, I can return the root node. This is what we have said. Now let us go through it and let us see how this is going to work, right? Let us see how this thing is going to work. So we have this pre-order, and firstly user gave us this input. So we made this as the root node. Then I asked the recursion to create the left subtree. Once we have the left subtree, where I'm going to attach it, I'll attach it towards the left side of the root. So I'll go over here. Then the root node at this point will be equals to the second data of the pre-order. So 2 will come over here. Then it will again call towards its left part. Next node is going to be 1. The next node, see, there is no node which is the left child of this particular uh, node 1. So what we'll do, I'll say that this node is equals to -1, so I'll attach null towards this side. So that's why what we have done, whenever we get data which is equals to -1, what we are going to do, we are going to return null from this particular point. So we have done this thing. Next thing, we have created the left child of this particular node 1. Then it will ask for the right child. So again, that child is also equals to -1. So it's going to work fine. Right, so we have attached the left subtree of the node 2, then we'll go towards the right subtree. So next node is going to be this particular node, which is 3. So we will attach 3 towards this side. Again, the left child of the node 3 is -1, the right child of the node 3 is -1. So again, we'll have null. Again, this side also we will have null. Right, so we have created this left subtree part. There's no node now which is left or which is remaining. We have created left and right child of every node in the left subtree. Now we'll go towards the right side of this particular tree. Right side of this tree is equals to 5. So we will attach the node 5 at this point. Then we have -1, then we have -1 again. So this is going to be null and this is also going to be null. So you can see we have this particular tree using this code that we have just wrote. So this pre-order, creation of the tree using pre-order is going to give us the tree that we want. Now the output should be this particular tree. So you can see that how many nodes are there which have the value greater than 4. There is only one node. So that will be evaluated as 9. So we will add 5 to the node 4. Right, so there is no node which is greater than 5. So 5 will remain as it is. Next node is 2. So how many nodes are there which are greater than 2? So 3, 4 and 5. So we will update it to 14. If I'll add it all these nodes, so it will be evaluated as 14. Same with the 1. So let us see how we can create this particular tree and how we can get this particular output. So this is nothing but the pre-order of this tree. This is pre-order. So see, I have just told you whenever we are working on trees, we do the part for one node and I'll ask the recursion to do the work for the left subtree and for the right subtree. Right, so consider that if we have this particular tree again, right, so we have this tree now. I'll just remove the nodes that do not exist. You can easily figure out in this case that if I want to update the root node, how can I update it? In BST, I know one thing, that the left tree contains every node which is less than the current node. So every node in the left part is less than the root node. Every node in the right part is greater than or equals to the root node. This is what we have in our BST. Alright, so how can I update this particular root node? So see, what I'll do, I'll add all the nodes which are present in the right subtree. So I can say RST. And once I have the sum for this particular right subtree, I'll add that to this particular root node. So I'll add that to this particular root node and the sum will be evaluated as 9 because a right subtree contains the sum as the 5 and the node data is equals to 4. So sum is going to be 9. So I'll update this particular root node with the 9. Then what I'll do, I'll ask the recursion that update the left subtree and this is going to be the sum that you are going to add to every node of this particular left subtree. So I'll pass this sum that I have evaluated towards the left subtree and the left subtree needs to add this particular sum to every node. Apart from that, what every node should do? It should take the sum of the right subtree because right subtree contains the nodes which are greater than the root node. So I'll add this sum and the sum of the entire RST to this node. So that node will get updated, right? So I'll get the sum 9, I'll get the sum 3. So 9 plus 3 and the root node is equals to 2. So this is going to be nothing but 14. So I'll update it with the 14. So this is what our approach is going to be. We are going to evaluate the sum for the right subtree. I'll add it to the root node. Then what I'll do, I'll ask the recursion that update the left subtree and add this particular sum to all the nodes. Along with it, calculate the sum of the right subtree and also add that particular thing. So let us see how we can do it. So we have figured out that I need two things, right? So I'll make void modify BST. So I'll need two things, node star root and int ampersand sum. So we need two things, sum and the root node. So see, if the root node is going to be equals to null, so this should be our base case. In this case, we should simply return, and I won't do anything in this case, because if the tree is not present, then we cannot do anything. Next thing that what we were going to do is we are going to calculate the sum for the right subtree first, right? So I'll ask uh, modify BST that calculate the sum for the right subtree. So once we have the sum for the right subtree, what I'll do, I have evaluated the sum by reference. So this bucket is going to be updated once we have evaluated the sum of the right subtree. Once we have done it, the next thing that we need to do is I'll add this sum to the data of the root node. Right, so I'll add this sum, sorry, just wrote it in a reverse manner. So I'll update the sum. So whatever the sum of this right subtree is equals to, so this right subtree gave us the sum which is equals to 5. So we have the sum from the right subtree equals to 5. So what should I do? I should update the sum and I should also add the root node to it. So I have done this particular thing. So we have done and we have calculated the sum for this particular root node. Now what should I do? I should update the root node. So I updated the root node with this particular sum. The next thing that remains is I will ask the recursion to update every node in the left subtree, and I'll pass this sum as well. I'll pass this sum as well to the left subtree. So I'll ask the recursion that you should modify the BST, and we will go towards the left side, and I'll say that updated with this particular sum. Alright, so this is going to be our code. Now let us also call this particular function. So we will call this modify BST, and I'll pass the root node, and I'll also pass the sum variable. And since we are passing it by reference, we need to make one bucket and then we need to pass it. Initially the sum is going to be 0. Once we have modified it, what I'll do, I'll ask preorder to print our tree after we have done the modification. So let us see whether this works or not. Let me just copy it. So yeah, I think this is giving us the correct answer, 423, 426, yes. So let us copy paste this code over here and let us submit it. So yeah, this algorithm is working absolutely fine. So I hope this logic is clear to you. But just for the better understanding of this problem, let us see how this problem is working now. We have this tree now, 4, 2, 3, 5, 1 and 3. So we have this as the root node. What we did, we asked the right subtree for its sum. So this gave us the sum which is equals to 5. Next thing what I did, I added this root node to this sum which evaluated as 9. So you can see this was the step. I asked for the right subtree sum and I added the root node and I updated the root node data with the sum. So the root node has become equals to 9. Now what I did, I asked the left subtree to update the nodes and I passed the sum which is equals to 9 over here. So what happens when we go towards the left side? The first thing, again, this has called the left side, right? So this is the recursive function. When we will go towards this function again, we will check whether the root node is null or not. No, the root node is not null now. This has become the root node now, which is not equals to null. So first of all, what we do, we calculate the sum for the right subtree. And since we have passed the sum bucket by reference, so the sum bucket over here contains the value which is equals to 9. So it will go over here, it will add the right subtree to this particular sum bucket and it will return it. So the sum bucket at this particular point will become equals to 12. Why? Because the sum bucket already had the value which is equals to 9. It was not equals to 0. Now the sum bucket contains the value which is equals to 9 and we have passed it by reference. So when I'll call it towards the left, towards the right subtree, so it will go and it will add every node of this particular right subtree to this sum bucket. Right, so there is only one node, so the sum bucket will become equals to 12 and we will update the sum bucket by adding the root node to it. So the sum will become equals to 14. So next thing what we are going to do, we are going to update this root node. And again, the sum has become equals to 14 now. So it will call towards its left subtree and the sum will be equals to 14 now. So it will be the root node now. It will check whether the root node is null or not. No. So it will ask for the sum of right subtree. So there is no node, so it will return sum will remain 14. It will add the root node to it, 15. The sum will get updated to 15 and we will store it over here. So you can see each and every node is getting updated this way, right? So this will be also updated. We have not done this thing. This node will also get updated as well when we will call, right? So this is the basic idea that how this algorithm is working. So I hope this problem is clear and the working of this problem is clear, because whenever you are going for the placements of our interviews, the most important thing is you should know that how to write the algorithm on your own. You should not mug up things. It should not be like that you have uh, learned a few algorithms and if someone is going to ask you any algorithm from that particular thing, you are going to explain it, but you cannot, right? You cannot explain or you cannot dry run the logic that you have written. So that is one of the most important thing what you should be able to do whenever you solve a particular problem. All right, so let us move towards the next problem and let us see what is the next problem. So this is the next problem. It goes by the name Big Bang Theory tree coloring. All right, so what this problem says and how we can solve this problem. So let us see. So this is a very interesting problem. So I hope you all must have liked this problem, that how you can do this problem. So in trees generally we are doing questions like print the pre-order, find the nodes which are greater than that, find the node which are smaller than the particular root node. So this is a problem which is of a little bit of a different type. So this is a game kind of problem, right? So you can actually build a game out of it. So what this problem says is, so there are two players. So Rajesh and Howard are there two. There are two players. So what happens is they are given n number of nodes in the tree. So each node is having distinct value from 1 till n. So if there are n nodes, so every node is having a distinct value from 1 to n. All right. So what happens is Rajesh firstly Rajesh goes and chooses a value between 1 till n. All right. Then Howard goes, then chooses a value from 1 till n. He cannot choose the same value as Rajesh. All right. So then the player takes turn. The Rajesh is the first player who uh, takes the turn, and what they do, once I have chosen the node, so let's say for example there are two players, Howard and Rajesh. So Rajesh goes first, then Howard goes. So what happens, Rajesh chooses one node. Let's say Rajesh has chosen the node 1. So in this particular problem, it's given that we have chosen the Rajesh have chosen the node number 1. So what happens? There are color encoding for every person. So Rajesh colors the node with the value red, and Harvard's colors the node with the value blue. Alright. So what happens in this case? After they have chosen a particular node, then they will play a game. What that game is, they will either color the node which is adjacent to the node they have chosen. So that node can be, for example, let's say I have chosen this particular node initially. Let's say if I have chosen this node initially. So what will happen in the next turn? I can update any one of the node with the same color. So I can make this first node with the color red, or I can go for the color red for node 4, or I can color the node 5 with the red color. So what we need to do is we need to play a game, and after the players choose to stop, and when they can stop is, so if there is no such node, right there, if there is no such node through which we can color the adjacent node, if there is no adjacent node which we can color, then we will pass our turn. If both the players will pass their turn, if there are no nodes left which I can color further, which are adjacent to my nodes, then the game will stop. So what happens is they are best friends. So all right, so we are Harvard. All right, so you are Harvard, and we need to tell, is it possible to choose a Y to ensure that we will win the game? If yes, print 1. If no, if not possible, then print 0. Alright, so we now know what the problem says and what we have to do. So there are two players, Howard and Rajesh. So we are Howard. So Rajesh goes first and he colors the node red. Alright, so Rajesh goes and colors the node red. Howard goes and colors the node blue. Alright, so first of all, in this particular case, Rajesh, the input is given us uh, in this format. So let us see what this format is. So there are three integers, the total number of nodes including leaves node, right? So including leaf nodes as well. The and the second argument says that there is the actual number of nodes from 1 till x. All right, so you can see there are 7 nodes. So if you count these nodes, these are 7 because they contains the minus 1, which are the children as well. That means there is no children present. All right, so this is the pre-order input. So we now know that how we can create a tree using pre-order input. So we can use the particular code to create the tree. The second node is how many nodes are actually present. So there are 3 nodes, 1, 2 and 3. All right, so there are 3 nodes, and the third parameter is the value x, which the Rajesh is going to choose. So Rajesh is going to choose the node 1 in this particular case. So we will lose in this game. So let us see whether it is true or not. So if Rajesh is going to choose this node, now what will happen? We can choose either second or 3. Anyway, if I'm going to choose any of these nodes, let's say if I choose 2. So in the next turn, the Rajesh will go and he will color this node as red. So when the game will end, now no one can choose any node because there is no node left for me to color further, and there is no node left for Rajesh to color it. So what will happen? I will lose in this game no matter what, because he will eventually end up with 2 nodes. But if the case would have been a little bit different, let's say if the case would have been a little bit different like this. So suppose that if Rajesh has chosen the node 2. So if he had chosen the node 2, so what can I do? Is there any node which I can choose and I will win the game? Yes, I can win it. So what I'll do, I'll choose the root node. So he cannot color any adjacent node because there is no node present. So what I'll do, in the next turn, he will pass his turn. In the next turn, I'll color this particular node, and when I won't be able to choose any node. The game will stop, and uh, and we can see that we have the more number of colored node compared to the Rajesh. So this is how we can solve this. But this was a very small example. How can we say, or how can we say that what and which node should I choose, or how will I be able to figure out that whether I can win this game or not. So we are Howard and we have the color blue, and we have Rajesh with the color red. Alright, so let us see. So for example, in this particular tree, suppose if by chance Rajesh is going to choose the color red. So let's say if he chose the node which is equals to 2 or 1. Let's say he chose the root node in this particular case. So when can I win? I need to figure out that when can I win this particular game. So see, I'll see there are three options in this particular game. There are three options if you want to win. That whichever node that Rajesh has chosen. So there must be a left subtree that contains more number of nodes than the entire tree. Than the entire tree, complete tree. So if that is the particular case, so what I'll do, I'll block this entire left subtree by marking the starting point of this particular tree. So if I'll mark the starting point, which is the node 2, so now what will happen? The Rajesh uh, Rajesh cannot come towards the left subtree side because I have blocked it. So I'll win this game. So what I'll do, the case first is the left subtree nodes must be greater than all the nodes in the remaining tree. So this is the case when I can win if the left subtree contains the nodes which are greater than the entire remaining tree. So when we have done this for the left subtree, the same case would exist for the right subtree as well, whether we can win this or not. So for example, if I'll expand the number of nodes over here, let's say 6, 7, 8, 9. So whether I can win this game or not, so how can I figure it out? So I'll see that if once we have checked for the left subtree, it will turn out to be that left subtree does not contain more nodes than the entire tree. So we will leave this option because I won't be choosing any node in the left subtree. So the next thing that I'm going to do is what? I'm going to check it for the right subtree, whether the right subtree contains more number of nodes than the remaining tree. So what I'll do, if the right subtree is having the nodes greater than all the other nodes, right? All the other nodes. So yes, you can see there are 6 nodes in this particular, sorry, there are 5 nodes in this particular right subtree, and how many nodes are there in the remaining subtree, which is equals to 4. So what I'll do, I'll choose this particular node, then I'll win it. So these are one of the options, right? But there is one more case. So this is first case, this is second case. There is one more case that can occur. It's not mandatory that Rajesh is going to choose the root node. What if he chose the node which is somewhere in middle? So I will not always check the left subtree and the right subtree only. What if he will not choose the node which is on the topmost? It's possible, right? So in that case, I'll not simply just check for the left subtree and the right subtree. What I need to check in that case? For example, let's say if he is going to choose the node number 6. Let's say Rajesh is going to choose the root number 6. Now if I check for the left subtree, if I check for the right subtree, so this thing is not going to work in this case. So what I need to do, I need to block the entire above tree so that Rajesh should not be able to reach in the any node which is above this. So then I can win. So what should I check in this case? We have the third case, that this is the left subtree, this is the right subtree. There is no node, right? So I can get the count of this entire tree. I can get the count of this entire tree. So this count is going to be 2. So next thing that I'm going to check is whether the remaining tree, which is not the part of this particular tree. So the remaining tree is this part. I'll exclude this part. So I'll say that this part is not consisting of the left subtree or the right subtree of the node that Rajesh has chosen. So what I'll do in this case, I'll check the remaining tree. So how can I get the number of nodes in the remaining tree? How to find it? Number of nodes in the remaining tree. So we are given these three arguments. This contains the total number of nodes in the tree. Actually, how many nodes are there? So in this particular case, there are 9 nodes. So what we can do, we can count the nodes of the left subtree because we have already done it. We have already calculated the nodes of the right subtree. So in this particular case, left subtree nodes are equals to 1, right subtree nodes are equals to 0. So how can I find the remaining tree nodes? So in this particular case, n is nothing but equals to 9. So I can find now the remaining nodes by subtracting the nodes of this particular smaller tree, right? The nodes of this particular smaller tree from all the nodes. So 9 minus 1 plus 0. So right subtree plus left subtree, and I'll subtract the root node as well, right? So that tree is going to have a root node as well, so I'll subtract that as well. So this is going to give me, which is the number 7. So yeah, there are 7 nodes in this remaining tree. So if the remaining tree contains more node than all the other nodes, all the other nodes which are remaining, which is the part of this particular tree. So what I can do, I can block this particular, right? So if I'm Howard, I'll mark it blue. So now Rajesh cannot come anywhere in the remaining tree. So in this case, I will win the game because I can mark all the nodes. So these are the three cases. If these three cases are possible, any of this particular case is possible, then I will win. Otherwise, I cannot win. So I hope the algorithm is clear to all of you, that how we are going to do it and what is the approach. So we need to have certain functions, right? So let us try to figure out which all functions would we need to solve this particular problem. So see, the functions that we are going to need in this particular cases, we need to find the node which Rajesh has chosen, right? Because we are given the integer value of the node that he has chosen. So first of all, what we need to do, we need to find the node that he has chosen. So how can I do it? I'll write a code which will find the node, that whichever node is that he has chosen. Then I need a function which will calculate the number of nodes in the left subtree and right subtree. So first function I need is to find the node. Second thing I need is to count the node. So these are the two things which are required, and rest is dependent on the count of the node. So let us begin with the code. All right. So see, all right. So we need to write the find code. Sorry, find node, not code. All right. First of all, let us have some inputs. Right. So n, and x. So what I'll do, I'll input n, small n, and x. So small n represents actual number of nodes in the tree without the null childs, right? So different. So now what I'll do, once we have this input, the next thing that user is going to give us the input is of the pre-order input. So pre-order input can be, we can create the tree using this particular code which we have seen earlier as well. All right. So I'll write node star root is equals to create tree. So once we have created the tree, that's fine. So now what I'll do, I'll write the function int big bang, right? So this function is going to take one root. We are going to solve this particular problem. So let us see. So we have the value of x with us, we have the value of n with us, right? So I'm going to write cout big bang, and I'll pass the root node, I'll pass the value of x, and I'll pass the value of n, which are actual number of nodes in this function. So the first thing that we need to do over here is we need to find the node of Rajesh. so that we can see which is the left subtree of this node, which is the right subtree. For that we need to find the node, right? So how can we find the node? So we need to write that function. When we are trying to find the node, so the return type should be node star, because we will return the address of that particular node, which is the node that we are going to find. So the tree is this, and the node that we are trying to find is equals to x. So see, once we are trying when we are trying to find a node in a particular tree, what happens in that case? So let's say I'll just make this tree this way. All right, so let's say the Rajesh has chosen this particular node. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find the node of this particular position, right? So we need this node. So we will start from the root node. Now the thing that we are going to do is we will start from the root node. I'll compare the data of this root node. If the data of this particular root node is equals to what we are looking for, then I'll return this root node. Otherwise, I'll ask the recursion to search in the left subtree, and I'll ask the recursion to search in the right subtree. Whatever the answer I'll get from the left subtree or the right subtree, so I'll return it. Alright, so what we need to do, we need to check for the root node. See, if root is equals to null, that means we are not able to find it, I'll return null. If the tree does not exist, the node will also not exist. So this is our base case. When we are using recursion, the thing that we need to keep it mind is we need to tell the base case, because it's the important part. Then we need to write recursive case. Then in the recursive case, what we are going to do, we are going to check whether the root node is equals to the data of root node is equals to x or not. If it is equals to x, then I'm going to return the root node that I have found a particular node which is equals to the x. Alright. Otherwise, what I'll do, I'll ask the recursion to tell me the answer for the left subtree. So I'll ask the recursion to find it in the left subtree, and I'll ask the recursion to find it in the right subtree. So that's it, we have done it. Now what I'll do, if I got the node in the left subtree, then I'll return it. If I'll have the node in the right subtree, then I'll return the right part, right? So what I'll do, I'll check if left is equals to null. What does this mean? That we have not found any node in the left subtree. So in this case, what should I do? I should return the right subtree. If not, if left is not equals to null, then what should I do? I should return the left subtree. So this is the ternary operator that I have used over here. If you want, you can use the if else condition as well, that if left is equals to null, then I should return that we have found the node in right subtree, else I should return that we have found the node in left subtree. So you can use any of these two, whatever you may like. Alright, so that's it. So first of all, we need to find the node. So alright, so we will find the root node, or let me just name it something else. Let us name it temp or node t, what we have find, and I'll ask it to find the node x. So I'm assuming that we will get the node x wherever it exists. Now what we need the count of the left subtree and the right subtree, right? So now we need the count of the left subtree and right subtree, and we also need the remaining nodes of the tree, right? So we need these two particular things when we are trying to solve the problem. So let us see how we can solve this particular problem. So first of all, let us write the code to count the nodes. So how can I count the nodes? Because if we are going to find the nodes in the left subtree and the right subtree, we need to count it. So let us write the function. So if there is no tree that exists, so what will be the answer in this case? If the root is equals to null, the answer is going to be 0. There are no nodes in the tree. Otherwise, what we are going to do, we are going to ask the number of nodes count in the left subtree first. So I'll ask the left nodes count. So the left nodes count, I'll just pass it to the recursion. I'll ask it to solve it for the left subtree. Then I'll ask it for the right subtree. what will be the answer of the entire subtree? What I can say? Can you guys tell me what will be the answer in this particular case? So I can say na the total number of nodes are going to be left plus right, and I'll add one for the root node. So what I'll do, I'll return 1 plus left nodes count plus right nodes count. So this is going to be the total number of nodes in the tree. So once we have it, so alright, so I'll get the count of the left subtree. So I'll pass the left subtree and I'll ask what is the count of this particular left subtree. Then I'll ask the total count for the right subtree as well. That's fine. I can also find the number of remaining nodes in the entire tree. Right, so I'll just write it remaining. So remaining nodes are going to be n minus, we just saw that it's equals to n minus left plus right minus 1. Right, so we will subtract the left and right subtree, and I'll also subtract the root node. So we have the remaining. So I can say now if left is greater than right plus remaining, all the nodes which are present in the entire tree is left plus right plus remaining. So if this is true, then I can say yes, I can win the game in this particular case. Or if right is greater than left plus remaining, then I can say I can win this game. Or if the remaining is greater than left plus right, then I can say I can win this game. If these three conditions do not match, these three conditions are not true, then I'll say that I cannot win the game. Then I'll return false. So this is for integer. So what I'll do, I'll say return 1. So whenever we win, we return 1, and whenever we lose, we return 0. So yeah. So this is how we can win. So I hope this code, all of you have understood that how this code is going to work. So let us see whether this is giving us the correct answer or not. Alright, so there is a little bit of error. Alright, so I'll update it. Alright, this is find node, not find. Alright. Yeah, so let us see whether this is going to give us the answer 0 or not. Alright, so just save it over here. So yes, this is giving us the answer 0. So let us just copy paste this code over here. Let us submit it and see whether this works or not. Alright, so I'm getting a wrong answer over here. So let us see what is the mistake that we have done in this part. So if we win, we return 1, right? So that's fine. So there is a minor mistake. We have counted the nodes for the left, we have counted the nodes for the right. Alright, so let us just check it. What is the issue? So alright, let us see what is the mistake over here. So we must have done some mistake in this function only. Okay, so we are finding the left and right for the root node, but we need to find it for the node that we have found. So this is the mistake that we have done. Now let us build it, and now let us run it over here, and let us see whether this works or not. So yeah, this is working fine now. So this was how we can solve this particular problem. So I hope this problem is clear to all of you now, right? So Let us see the next question as well. Alright, so let us move towards the next question. Alright, so this is the next problem and it goes by the name that special trees. So we need to create a special tree in this case, but there are certain conditions when we are going to create a special tree. So in tree, I have just told you, you need to do the work for one node and for the left subtree and for the right subtree part. The recursion is going to do the work. We don't have to consider, we don't have to do every work for the entire tree. So right, so it says that the root is the maximum in the array. So we are given an array, and what we need to do, we need to create the root node with the maximum value in the array. All right, the left subtree will be constructed with the left part of the subarray divided by the maximum number. All right, so once we have divided it by the maximum number, so the left part of that particular array is going to constitute the left subtree, and the right subtree will be the right part of that array. So what this problem says, let us see that. So for example, let's say I'm going to iterate over this tree and we need to make the root node as the maximum. So I'll make sure that the root node from where the tree starts contains the maximum value. So what I'll do, I'll iterate over this array and I'll see that this is the node which has the maximum value. So I'll mark it as the root node and I'll create it as the root node. So this is going to be the root node. Now what I'll do, I'll make the left part of this particular tree as the left part of this array, and the right part of this particular tree is going to be the right part of this array. So this is what the problem says. So what we'll do, we will have certain indices in this particular array. So let us say this is our starting index and this is our ending index, right? So ending index is going to be n minus 1, starting index is going to be 0 initially. So what I'll do, I'll iterate over this particular range from start till end and I'll find the maximum element in this array. So I'll get this maximum array as 5, maximum element as 5. So I'll take one index, let's say k, and I'll store it over here, whatever the maximum index is. So once we have found the maximum index, so what I'll do, I'll iterate over the entire range from starting till end. So what I'm going to do is, initially I can assume that the element that is having the largest value is the starting element. So I can assume that the starting element has the maximum value. Now what I'll do, when I'm iterating over this array, I'll check if any, let's say the I is the iterator which is going from start till end. If any ith element is greater than the a of k, which we have assumed that it is the largest element. So what I'll do, I'll update the kth index to I. So once we will come outside this root, so let us dry run this thing as well. So initially I have assumed that this is the k. So I is the iterator which is going to every index of this array one by one. So I'll see, yes, this value is greater than the a of k. What I'll do, I'll update the k value over here. So I'll move one step ahead. This I is not greater than k. So I'll skip it. This is also not greater than k. I'll skip it. Once the for loop is over, so the k will be pointing to the index that is having the maximum value. So what I'll do, I'll update or I'll make this as the root node. So I'll write root node will be the current element which is stored at the index k. So once we have created this index as the maximum value, so what we need to do, I need to update the left subtree as the left part of this array and right subtree as the right part of this subarray. So I'll call the left subtree that create the left subtree with these values. So this value will be over here, and I'll call that create the right subtree with these values. So how can I say that contain create the left subtree and right subtree with these values? For the left subtree, the start will remain on its place and the end will become k minus 1. So start and end both are going to point on the value 1 in this case. For the right subtree, I'll call for starting value, I'll update it by k plus 1 and the ending value will remain same. So in this case, the start is pointing at value 3 and end is pointing at the value 4. Simple. Yeah. So for the right subtree, I'll write over here, the start is pointing at this index and end is pointing at this index. So again, what will happen? I'll just go further for this problem and let us see how this is going to work. This is going to iterate over this array and this is going to find the maximum value. So 1 is the only maximum value that is over here. Now, once we have find the maximum value, then now doesn't matter if I'll go towards left or if I'll go towards right, because in this case start was equals to end, as they were pointing to the same node. If I'll go towards the left side, what we do in this case, we update the end value. So the start will be having a value which is greater than end because they were equals to each other, and I have updated the value of end by decreasing it with 1. So this is going to give us the wrong answer because k was equals to start or k was equals to end in this case. So what we have done, we have updated the value of end with k minus 1. So start will become greater than end. So in this case, what should I do? I should return null. So we have found the base case as well. When start exceeds the value, the answer is going to be null. The same thing is going to happen with this case as well. In this case, what will be the output? So see, this is going to find the largest value in this range. So k will be pointing on the index 4. So 4 will become the root node of this particular tree. Yeah, so that's fine. Alright, so let me just write the indices, right? So the k is on index, s is on index 2 and k e is on index 3. So k is also on index 3 in this case. Alright, so when we go towards the left side, we update the end range. So alright, so when I'll update the end range in this case to k minus 1, the start and end both will be pointing on the value which is 3. So 3 is going to be the root node at this particular point. If we'll call towards the left or right, so again the same situation, start is equals to end in this case, go towards left or go towards right, it will be null because start will overshoot the value of end. When we will go towards the right of this particular tree, we will update the starting value, right? So starting value will become k plus 1 and ending value will remain same. So the k was equals to 3 in this case, so it will become 4. End is equals to 3 in this case. So see, start has overshoot the value of end. Again, we will add null to this point. So this is how the entire tree gets constructed. And let us just write the code for this particular problem. So I'll just open the basic code that we have done, right? So we need to print the in order. So let me just write the code to print the in order over here. So we have the node star root. So if the node in the tree is not present, so what I'll do, I'll simply return, I won't print anything. In order means print the left subtree first, then the node, then the right subtree. So first we need to print the left subtree. So I'll ask the recursion to print the left subtree for us. Then what I'll do, I'll print the data of the root node, which is the root node will get printed in middle. Then I'll ask it to print the right subtree. So this is the code for printing the in order. So that's fine. The next thing that we are going to do, we are going to write the code for special trees. So we will create a special tree. So node star, because the array is the input and we are going to return the tree from this particular point. So I'll write special trees. So this will take one array and this will take one starting index, this will take one ending index, which are important. So we know the base case of this particular problem. We have just figured it out. If start overshoots the end, what should I do? I should return null. In that case, tree is not possible. It's not possible to create the tree in that case. All right. So next thing, what we are going to do, we are going to assume some k, which is the starting point itself, which we have done over here. I'm just writing the same code only. Next thing is we are going to iterate over the entire range from start till end. So let's say I is the iterator which is going to iterate over it. So I'll do I++. So if at any point of time, if I'll figure it out that a of I is greater than a of k. So in this case, what should I do? I should update the value of k. That is what we have done. Once we are outside this particular loop, what I'll do? Whichever element that the k index is pointing to, that will become the root node. So node star root is equals to new node, the value of the kth index. The left subtree will be the left subarray. So what I'll do, I'll say that the left subtree, the recursion will construct it. So I'll ask the recursion to construct it I'll pass the, when we go towards the left subtree, we update the ending index with k minus 1. And when we go towards the right subtree, we update the starting index with k plus 1. So once we have the entire tree, what I'm going to do, I'm going to return the root node. So this is the code. So I think this code should work. Now what should we do? We just need to take input. So let us see what is the input. There are number of nodes and the array. So alright, so int n. So I'll print, take input of it. I'll write int star a is equals to new int n. So now what I'll do, I'll input it. So yeah, we have inputted the array. Next thing is we need to ask the function to give me the tree after creating it. So I'll pass the array. The starting index is going to be 0. The ending index is going to be n minus 1. That is what we have done initially. Starting index is equals to 0. Ending index is equals to n minus 1. So we have passed it. Next thing is we need to print the in order of this tree. So I'll pass the root node and I'll print the in order. So let us see whether this works or not. I'll just try to run this thing. By chance this is happening that we are creating a tree and the in order and the array input is same. So see, we are getting the correct answer. Now next thing what we are going to do, we are just going to copy paste it over here. Let us submit it. So yeah, this is working absolutely fine. So I hope the code is clear to you, and how the algorithm is working internally, that is also clear. So alright, so let us see the next question. So let us see the next problem. This problem is quite interesting. So what this problem says is that we are given a binary tree. So this problem says that you have a binary tree and you are given a particular sum which is equals to x. You need to find all the possible subtrees that contains or that is having the sum which is equals to x. So we need to do that thing. So you can see that this can contain the negative values as well, positive values as well. That's fine. So let us see what is the input format for us. So the first line contains the number of test cases. So there are multiple test cases for this problem. And the next line is that the tree is given us in the form of string. So generally what we were doing was we were given a pre-order. We need to print or we need to create a tree using pre-order. We can be taking input in level order, but in this problem the tree that is being given to us is in the form of string. The next line contains obviously the sum that we need to figure out how many trees there are. Alright, so see, if the string that is being given to us is equals to 4, 3, 5, 1, 1. So we are going to create it a complete binary tree. Complete binary tree, all the levels are completely filled except for the last level. So we fill it from left towards right. So we will have this node as the root node. Then we will have 3 and 5. Then we will have 1 and 1. And then the string will end. So we will stop at this particular point. So we need to create a particular tree using this particular string. So now most of you must be doing something like you will take this string in a character array. Right, so we can take 4, 3, 5, 1, 1. So these all numbers are space separated obviously, because there can be a number like 400, there can be a number like minus 300. So if I want to fetch these particular numbers from the given string, then we are going to use some function which is called as strtok, string tokenizer function. So string tokenizer function, you can read about it, that how this string tokenizer function works. So you can actually extract all the numbers from this string. So how can I do that? Using strtok. So the first step is to fetch all the fetch the string and get or extract all the numbers from this particular string. So how can we do that? We will see that. So first step is to extract all the numbers, right, so that we can create the tree using this particular string. So for that we need all the numbers, because this is a character array and we need to convert it to integer. Alright, so all those who code in Java, you can also look for this particular function, that how can you create this. There is a function in Java as well, I guess, for string tokenizer, right? And we have a function stoi, which converts string to integer. Otherwise, you'll have to write a code to convert the string to integer, but let's not do that. Let's use the inbuilt function to make our task a little bit easier. So if I'll give this a particular number as string 40, so this is going to give me output integer 40. If I'll give it minus 40, so this is going to give me output minus 40 in integer. So this is what this function does. It takes a string and it gives us the output of that particular string. Alright, so this is how it works, and let us see how we can do this particular problem. Okay. So see that we will start with the code. First of all, we will take the input of the test cases, then I'll write cint. Then while the test cases are not covered, we will take input of string s, right? So what I'll do, I'll create one character array which is a global array, so that I don't have to pass it every time. Let's take 1000 buckets in it, and whenever we take a input of string using scene.getLine, like this way. So what we have to do in this case, there is one thing that comes in between, which is called as scene.ignore, right? So I hope all of you know about this thing, that whenever we are taking a number and then we are taking a string using input using the function scene.getLine, then we need to ignore one. Let's say if you are given 10 and the next string is Karthik. So whenever you enter the number and you press, either you will press a space, or instead of space you will press enter. So you need to ignore these characters. You will not consider these characters, right? These characters are not part of the string or the part of the tree. So what we do, we will ignore this particular character. To ignore one particular character, we can use scene.ignore. So what it does, it ignores one of the character that was supposed to be read. So we will ignore it, right? Because we are not taking input using scene. Scene ignore white spaces, but scene.getLine does not. So that's why we need to ignore it. So we have taken the string. The next thing that we need to do is we need to convert string to integer. So alright, so we have created it globally, and I'll also create the nums array that will also be global. So what I'll do, I'll write void string to nums. So I'll convert the string and I'll store that particular string into the vector. So numbers will be stored inside the vector. Alright, so this is how the character string tokenizer function works. So we will have an answer. So I'll write str tok and I'll pass the string, and I'll pass about which all particular points do you want to divide these numbers about. So we have only one thing over here which we can divide all the numbers around, which is a space, right? These are all spaces. There won't be anything else. So we will give spaces as the division part. So please make sure to that you use double quotes for this particular thing, because the string tokenizer function takes the delimiters in the form of string. Delimiters are the characters around which you want to divide your entire string. So what it will do, it will take characters one by one, and it will give you those particular strings, right, which are divided around the space. So what we will do, while answer is not equals to null, so this thing is going to work till the answer is not equals to null, and we will have the first integer in this character array. So now what I can do, I can write v dot push back if the number is not equals to, if the answer is not equals to null, that means we have this. So I'll just write it again. So if there is something like 23 minus 23 100, if this is the string and we have written answer is equals to strtok, and I'll write this particular string over here. So this is denoted by character array a, and then I have written the null delimiters. So answer will contain this particular first string, right? So the answer will contain the string 23 in it. Firstly, so what I'll do, I'll convert this string to integer using stoi function. So while I'm pushing this particular string to the vector, so what I'll do, I'll write string to integer and I'll convert this particular string to integer. Now I want to fetch the next number, right? So to fetch the next number, what we do, we don't write it again this way. We won't write it this way. What we are going to do in this particular case now, we need to continue to the string we were trying to read before. So now we are going to write it this way, strtok, and I'll pass null over here because we are not taking the new string, we are considering the previous string only. So this works on the basis of static variables, so they will store or they will remember their earlier value. So that is how this thing works, right? And we will again pass the delimiters as it is. So this is now going to fetch the next number, which is equals to minus 23, which is separated by spaces. So I'll get in the answer, the next thing I'll get it as minus 23. Again I'll convert it. Then if I'll run this particular line again, so I'll get 100. So this is how string tokenizer function works. So you can read about it more if you like to. For now we are not going to go in the detail of the implementation of this function, but this is how it works, right? So I'll write strtok and I'll again pass null and I'll pass the delimiters. The delimiter is equals to space. So once we have iterated over the entire string and we have fetched all the numbers, the next thing is let us see whether this gives us the correct answer or not, right? So I'll write v dot size just to confirm that this is going to give us the correct answer. We will print it. So this is not v, this is nums. So let me just update it to v only because it's easier for us to write v. So let us see how this thing is going to work. So we have a string. Alright, so let me just give any test case. Alright, let me just save it. Okay. So we have saved it, and so I'll write one test case and I'll give it a string. Let's say 23 minus 2300. So you can see we are getting the integers now when we have printed the vector. So that's fine, it's working absolutely fine. We have fetched all the integers from the string. The next thing is to create the tree using this particular integer. So what I'll write, node star root is equals to create tree. Alright, so we will go to the function which is create tree. So we need to have a node first so that we can create a tree. Alright, so there will be a data and there will be 2 pointers left and there will be 1 pointer right. So I can write left is equals to right is equals to null. I'll create a constructor as well, int d, and I'll write data is equals to d and left is equals to right is equals to null. So that's it. We have created the constructor. The next thing we need to do is we need to write a function that creates a tree and returns that particular tree. So we have a create tree function with us that is going to create the tree and return the tree to us. Now we have to create a complete binary tree. So for creating that particular tree, we need to use a queue because we are creating a complete binary tree. Complete binary tree is getting formed in level by level. First of all, we need to complete all the nodes in level 0, then level 1, then level 2. When we are iterating on the tree level wise, we need to iterate it using level order. I hope that all of you know that how we can iterate over the tree using level order. The next thing that you can do is you can also create a tree using level order. So first of all, what we do when we are trying to create a tree using level order, the first thing that we do is we create the root node first. So I'm going to create the root node first. First of all, the root node is going to be the value which is stored at the 0th index of the vector. So what I'll do, I'll first check if strlen of a, if length of a or length of string is equals to 0 or the size of vector is 0. That means there is no node inside the tree and there is no element inside the vector. So what I'll do, I'll return null in this case. That tree is not possible in this case because we don't have any nodes. The next thing is what we are going to do, we are going to pick one digit or one number. So the first number is going to be a of or v of 0. I'll create the root node of this particular number. I'll take one iterator I that will start from 1 because we have already considered the first node and we have inside the array we will have this number, right? these numbers will be stored inside the vector or the array, you can say 4 3 5 1 1. We have these numbers. So we took the first node and we created the root node. So we have created this root node firstly. Then what I'll do, I'll create the left child of it, then I'll create the right child of it. So for that we need a queue. So what I'll do, I have to push, I'll take queue node star queue. We are going to push the nodes. I'll include the header file of queue. Alright, so I'll do insertion of the root node inside the queue. The next thing is we need to do some work till the queue is not empty. And the iterator I is less than v dot size. If we have the elements inside our vector, then only we are going to iterate, otherwise we are not going to iterate. So that's fine, right? So this is how we are going to do. First of all, what we do, we take out the root node from the queue. We will take out this node. So we have a iterator and we have created the root node, which is the first node of the tree. And the next thing what we are going to do, we are going to check that, let's take out the node star temp from the queue dot front, and I'll pop it. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to check that what is the left child of this particular node. So what will be the next child of this particular node? That is going to be 3. So we will fetch this element from the vector. So what I'll do, the iterator I is pointing at the index 1 only. So I'll check that the number is going to be the v of I over here, and I'll do I plus plus as well. I'll update the value of I as well. So this number is going to be the root node now. So what I'll do, I'll make the root nodes, sorry, the left of this temp that we have fetched from this particular queue. So this is the pointer temp which is pointing to this node. I'll attach the left child of this temp node as the 3. So I'll write temp left will be equals to new node, and that will be the number that we have took from the queue. Alright, so that's fine. So now it's possible now that all the nodes must have been considered. So I'll check if v dot size is smaller than I, right? So if I becomes greater than equals to v size, so what I'll do, I'll simply break this loop, that we don't need to proceed any further because we have created the entire tree. The next thing is, if not, if there are certain elements which are remaining inside this vector, what we can do, the I is pointing at this index, we will take this node and we will make it as the right child of the temp. We will take this particular number as well. So we will do number is equals to v of I plus plus, and I'll make it as the left child, or sorry, right child of the temp. So I'll write new node number. Simple. So again I'll check, we have upgraded the value of I. If I becomes greater than equals to v dot size, what should I do? I should break the loop. I should not continue in this case. Right, so we have created the left child. So whenever we create something, we push it inside the queue. We will write queue dot push temp left child. Similarly, we will write when we have created it queue dot push temp dot right. So this is how it is going to work. So if the logic is not clear yet, so let me just explain it again over here. First of all, we have considered the root node as the first argument of the vector. So the temp is pointing at this particular point because we have fetched it from the queue. So we have our queue. So we inserted the 4 inside it, we fetched it, and this 4 is the root node as well. We have marked it as the root node. First node that we created was the root node only. Alright. So now next thing is we fetched the node from the queue, we popped it. We saw what will be the left child of this node. That is the iterator I, which is the value that the I is pointing to. So that will become the left child over here. Because we have created this, we will insert it inside the queue. Right, so we updated the I checked that is it possible to get more nodes from the vector? Yes, because we have not iterated over the entire vector. So now I'll make the right child of this as the 5. So we updated the value of 5. So yes, there are more elements now. So what I'll do, when we create a node, we insert it. Now I'll fetch another node from the queue. So now I'll ask for the left child of the 3. So it will be equals to 1. So I will be updated. Now I'll check for the right child of the 1. So we have created it. So I'll insert it in the queue. So I has exceeded the size of the vector. So I should stop. So this is our tree which we needed to create. This will be the tree, right? So once the algorithm stops, what should I do? After this algorithm stops, I should return the root node from this function. That is what was the point. So we will return the root node. So we have created the tree. This way it was quite easy to create it, and just we were checking. Alright, so once we have created the tree, we need to check all the subtrees that contains the given sum. So let's say in this particular point, if someone asks me that the x value is equals to 5, how many trees are there that contains the value that is having the subtree value as equals to 5. So see, what we are going to do in this case is, you can see there are two trees. This is a smaller subtree which contains the value 5, and or the sum is equals to 5, and this tree is also having the value of 5. So what we are going to do, we are going to check for one tree which is the biggest tree, right? So I'll check what is the sum of this particular tree. So I'll ask the recursion to find the sum of the left subtree. I'll ask it to find the sum of the right subtree. Once we have the sum of left, once we have the sum of right, so what will be the sum of the entire tree? That will be root data plus sum of left plus sum of right. So I'll check if this data sum plus left sum plus right is equals to x. That means we have found one subtree that is equals to the given x. So we will be doing it for the root node, and then I'll ask recursion to find all the subtrees in the left part. Then I'll ask recursion to find all the subtrees in the right part that is having the sum equals to x. So that is what we need to do. Alright, so the function is going to be integer return type, right? So I'll write count subtrees. So this will take one root node, and this will take one x that we need to find for. So we have not considered the input of x, so we have took the input of x as well now. Alright, so what we should do, if root is equals to null, there is no tree, then the output will be 0. There cannot be any subtree. Otherwise, what we need to do, I need to check the sum of this particular tree. So I'll check if the sum of this particular root node x is equals to sum. So the answer will be equals to initially 0. I'll assume that there is no subtree. If I found one subtree, I'll update the answer by 1. Right? I'll update the answer by 1. So you can write answer plus plus or answer is equals to 1. Both the things means the same. So now what I'll do, I'll return the answer plus we have found one subtree. We have found one subtree if that is equals to x. So now I'll ask the recursion to find all the subtrees in the left subtree and all the subtrees in the right subtree. So I'll ask recursion to find the subtrees in the left part. So in left subtrees, so how many subtrees would be there? I'll ask recursion. So go and find all the subtrees to the left side of this root node, and I'll ask find all the subtrees to the right side of this particular root node. So I'll ask for the right side as well. So answer would be answer plus left subtrees plus right subtrees. So this is going to be the answer, right? So we have created it. So this should work fine. The recursion is going to tell how many left subtrees are there with the given sum. The recursion is going to tell how many right subtrees are there with the given sum. So we need to find, or we need to create this function right now. We have not created the sum function. So we will write int sum. It will take one root node to find the sum of that particular tree. If the root node is equals to null, that is the base case. Generally, this is the base case of the trees. Then in the trees, because if tree does not exist, then the sum would be 0 obviously. The next thing that we are going to do is we are going to check for the sum of the left subtree and for the sum of the right subtree. So I'll check left sum. So left sum is going to be given us by the recursion. Then I'll ask it for the right sum. So the right sum is going to be also given to us by the recursion itself. What will be the sum of the total tree? So sum of the total tree will be the data of root, what we just wrote, the left sum. I'll sum the left sum to it, and I'll add the right sum to it. So this is going to work. I think this is going to work absolutely fine. So I hope that you know how can you create a tree from the string now, and how can we find the something. So first of all, let us see whether this works or not. So we will write count subtrees, and we will pass the root node, and we'll pass the x. All right. So mm, okay, sorry, we cannot initialize it outside. All right, so we need to create x as well. So that's working fine. So let us take this input and see whether this gives us the answer 0 or not. So yeah, this is giving us the answer 0, right? So let us take this code and let us submit it over here. Okay, so we can include bits slash std c++ dot h because we have used another functions as well. For that we need to add it string files, so I'll add all the header files here. So let us see whether this works or not. Yeah, this is working absolutely fine. Alright, so I hope the algorithm is clear to all of you, and how this algorithm works is also clear to all of you. So that was it for the today's session. I hope you must have all enjoyed it. So the next topic that we are going to cover will be dynamic programming. So do revise your revision recursion concepts, right? So that you will be able to do it. And that was all from my side. So if you have any suggestions, or if you have anything that you would like for me to consider, so you can tell it in the comments. So I will definitely work on them, and I'll bring the content that you want me to tell you, or that you want the lectures to be done on a particular content. Then you can also tell it. So that was all. Thank you guys for attending the webinar. All right, so bye bye.